Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So first up, can I get a motion to approve the minutes for the May 10th, 2022 work session and special meeting, the May 17th, 2022 regular meeting, and the May 26th, 2022 Town of Cornwall COH joint special meeting? Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes. Is there any public comment on any agenda items?
Just on the whole thing of resolutions, and I think I urge the board to stop waiving the reading of the resolutions. I've never seen a board waive every resolution reading of it. You should read it into the minutes. I mean, if people have come to a meeting, they haven't had a chance to look online to see what the resolutions are, and people who view the video going forward, if the resolutions aren't read into it, it's pretty hard to ascertain what the details might be. So I urge the board to stop waiving the reading of the resolutions and read them into the minutes. Thank you.
Is there anybody else? No? Okay. So first up, we have the New York Stretch Energy Code presentation. This is going to, hopefully this works.
Yeah, because I'm fine.
Matt, can you hear us?
Yes, good evening.
Okay, perfect. So,
Am I coming through okay?
Yeah.
yes, you are.
Can we do the volume a little bit much?
Yeah, let me see if
Just trying to get the audience to hear you too, Matt.
Okay. I used to teach shop class, so I can only project my voice so loud, but I could do it over a classroom with power tools.
You do a good job.
I can't do much with technology over the internet.
Okay, so what we basically have is, I've asked Matt and Kat Carroll to basically just give us a presentation on the New York Stretch Energy Code. And so this is just a readily adoptable energy code that calls for higher efficiency standards in new and renovated buildings and construction projects. And so I just thought it would be, good for the board to get a, just a brief overview. We could think about it. We could decide if we want to move, towards this new code at some point in the future. So I will let Matt start his presentation.
All right, let me go to share screen. Oh, you have to disable screen share. Then I'll pull up my PowerPoint.
And I just want to say I might have to drop off here, but my name is Kat Carroll. I'm with Clean Energy Communities Coordinator. So I work across a variety of high-impact actions. Matt is the expert on New York Stretch, but I have unfortunately forgotten my power cord, so my computer might die in just a second. But I look forward to hearing the results of Matt's presentation today.
I'm going to switch screens. And does everyone see that?
Yes.
See community HA adoption, Town of Cornwall?
Yes.
All right, and that is your emblem, right? I think I pulled that right off of your website.
Yes.
All right, I'll jump right into it, and we can do questions as I go through, or we can do questions at the end. How do you want to do that? Whatever works best for everyone.
Why don't we do questions at the end, maybe?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
At the end is fine.
All right, let's jump right into it then. The New York Stretch Energy Code is a readily adoptable code now, and I'm going to show you a number of communities that have adopted it locally near you, Hudson Valley region, and there's several towns, villages, and cities that That 11% number is a combination of commercial and residential buildings. For residential, you can get upwards of 19% more energy efficient than current energy code. And commercial buildings might tumble and go down to about 9 or 10% more efficient than the current energy code. And the positive there is anything more efficient than the current energy code is going to save the building owner money. It's going to save potentially the builder money because they can look at several options for how they'll construct the building. And in the long run, our utility bills will be lower. And we all know what's happened with our utility bills over the last few months and last couple of years. So anything that you can build above and beyond code minimum is a good thing. And that's all our current energy code is in New York State, is a code minimum. It's always frustrating to hear contractors say, hey, I built the code. But what they're telling their clients and what they're telling everyone else is they build to what's legal by law, and it's nothing special or fancy. So we would love to get more builders to go above and beyond the code minimum, especially with energy codes. It's a pretty straightforward energy code. It lays itself on top of the existing energy code that's already in place, and there's a lot of good transition materials and information available on the NYSERDA website that really helps to the architects and builders to get familiar with the stretch code. And from my experience the last 2 years of going through stretch code is it's opened the eyes up to the architects and builders about options they didn't even know they had with the New York Energy Code. Now they see they have even more flexibility with the stretch code in some cases. So currently, we're on a pathway here. If we just keep going business as usual, we're slowly making buildings more energy efficient. With the stretch code, we're going to take a jump towards going to net zero and getting our buildings even more energy efficient. The ultimate goal here into the future is to get all of our buildings down to net zero at some point. And there's a lot of different goals nationwide, statewide, to do different things. And the stretch code is just one avenue that's going to make us more energy efficient than continuing business as usual. So this is really a good option to look into to make that jump. Right now, the state is on a 3-year projection with adopting new codes every 3 years. And we currently have word that they may not be adopting the next energy code coming up next year. They may skip a cycle, and we may end up waiting until 2026 before a new energy code is chosen. And that's potentially a 6-year period where you're building to an older code that's really outdated. So if you have a lot of projects coming up or planned in the next few years, getting them to be built above and beyond code minimum is really a good idea. Currently, the New York Stretch Code is in place and can be adopted by any communities. The paperwork's laid out for all communities that adopt it. It will help to reduce energy consumption, operating costs of buildings, both commercial and residential, reducing our utility costs, and the big item here is reducing greenhouse gas emissions. You do not have to be a CEC designated community, clean energy community, but if you are, you can get 1,200 points for this adoption towards a grant in the future, and I'll show you that on the next slide. What you most likely will miss out on, because the date was June 30th, is there were $5,000 and $50,000 grants available for communities that adopted the stretch code prior to June 30th. They were making an effort to extend the deadline. This June 30th was extended from a previous deadline of December. And I got word earlier this week that most likely they're not going to extend the deadline here for adopting New York Stretch and allowing communities to get these 5,000 or 50,000 chunks of grant money. But the communities will still be able to do the 1,200 points and get points towards a future grant. So it looks like you will not have time to get it in place by June 30th. So that's unfortunate, but still many reasons why you'd want to adopt the New York stretch code. It shouldn't be a financial incentive for a community that wants to do it, but what there is still available is as you do adopt things and do things through the Clean Energy Communities program, you do earn points. And adopting the New York stretch will get you 1,200 points. And you can see as you earn point levels. Are you a Clean Energy Community? Are you a member of it?
No,
No,
no, we're not.
no, we are not.
Okay.
No, it's something that we are working
I saw that
towards.
dropped off. That's something you might want to look into doing.
Yep.
You can see here, as you earn points, you get the 3,000 points. And I'm not sure on your population size. Are you small or medium?
We are small,
Small,
medium,
medium.
yeah, we're roughly 13,000 people.
So, for example, the first time you got to 3,000 points, you could collect a $10,000 grant. When you push up to 4,000 points, you can collect a 20,000 grant. And then once you get over 5,000 points, there's potentially $70,000 left. And this is per region divided out across the state. So it's something you might want to look into. And they're always extending and changing this program and putting money into it. So there's potential for more grant money coming down the road as well. There are builders and developers who already look at high performance homes and buildings. There's Commercial Builder by Me. They put up net zero apartment complexes. Rotterdam, New York, years ago put in a net zero building complex, meaning that building produces the amount of energy that they consume. There's literally no utility bills. That was a really cool project near our offices. But that's above and beyond what New York stretch even is. But what we're getting at is there are several builders nationwide here in New York that already love to go above and beyond code minimum. And when you adopt a stretch code, you're going to see those builders not to be deterred by anything in the stretch code. And I'll give you some examples of what's in it. You can expect, the contractors can expect, and the homeowners and the building owners can expect paybacks of under 10 years for the projects that are built under the stretch code. Once that payback period is done, you're pretty much saving money. Cost effective, there's only a 1 to 2% increase in construction costs, depending on what their options are that they choose. Some builders are looking at pathways they didn't know existed, and they're actually saving costs on building. And this is all based on construction materials we know have gone up in price as well. So the good thing is you can look at different avenues of constructing a building and potentially save money right up front. You get greater greenhouse gas reductions than what the current New York Energy Code is. You get the residential code towards net zero, which is pretty much the ultimate goal somewhere down the future where New York State is going to be requiring that. Not sure of the timeline there, but with all the things happening with climate change and discussion at the state level, we are looking to go that path into the future. So this is kind of a stepping stone for contractors to make that change. And many of them, haven't complained about it. And it helps to address 40% of our energy use. Residential and commercial buildings do consume 40% of our energy statewide. So this will help the state on energy consumption, which in turn can help with the taxed electric grids that we have around and reduction and dependency of fossil fuels as well. Non-energy benefits, long-term for the building, long-term benefits of the building, for building a better building today. Lower energy use means reduced operating costs, save building tenants and owners money, especially true with higher utility bills. Money saved in your community can most likely stay in your community and be used elsewhere. Climate and community benefits, it's an opportunity for professions involved in high-performance building design, construction and performance verification, increases community attractiveness, more owners and tenants desire green and energy efficient buildings, more resilient buildings and communities. get into the whole full-blown code, there are, before I forget about it, Performance Systems Development, PSD, out of Ithaca, New York, has 4-hour, 8-hour, and 1 and 2-hour completely free New York Stretch training classes for code officials, mayors, and whoever else would want to take those trainings. They're all accredited by the state, and they dive into the heart and soul of what the New York Stretch Energy Code is. I'm just going to kind of briefly introduce some of the stuff that we'll go on with that. But residential, for contractors, you have a prescriptive pathway to meeting the energy code. That's typically where you hear and see, oh, what's the R value I have to put in my attic? What's the R value of the insulation I have to put in my walls? And it tells you what to do, and that's what they put into the house. That's one option. That's probably the most basic approach, and I wish more builders would ignore it and go into performance path, because now you can model a building, get it constructed actually in a computer software, and work with the clients to tell them how much their utility bills will be reduced, what energy they're saving, and what building materials they should use. Smart, educated choices in what materials should be used in the building. You also introduce a passive house option that is not available under the New York Stretch, New York Energy Code. It is available in the New York Stretch Code. And then, of course, we have the ERI path, which has been in the code for the last 2 cycles, dating back to the last code cycle, which was the 2016 New York Energy Code. For example, current energy code, the ERI path, we have to get a house to score 62. Under New York Stretch, they want you to get to a 50. And if you're familiar with Energy Star Homes, or you have Energy Star Home builders in your community, they probably already build homes in the low 50s currently. I work with a builder up here in the Albany area, and all of their Energy Star homes built to New York Energy Code, but following Energy Star compliance, their homes come out in the lower 50s. And so they haven't had to make any change if they go, their communities that they build in do New York Stretch. So you're allotted one more option to meeting energy code for residential buildings, passive houses added in, but you also have these other pathways that are already there. So here real quick is that R value table I was talking about. You guys are located in Orange County, correct?
Yes.
I used to teach at Orange Ulster BOCES. My first 2 years of teaching many years ago was part of the building trades program in Goshen, New York. So I'm very familiar with the area. So you are located in Climate Zone 5. Here's some changes built into the stretch code. Your window U factors would have to be lower. Currently they're a 0.30. The lower the number, the better for U factor. You'd have to go to a 0.27. These windows are commonplace. The majority of window manufacturers make these windows already. Lots of builders use these better performing windows already. Skylights, 0.50. Glazed fenestration, not a requirement, prescriptively, performance pack, you can use that. Ceiling R value, no change. You can get away with the 49. You can actually get away with an R38 if you went with a raised steel truss, believe it or not. Many builders aren't even aware of that. They can actually reduce the R value in the ceiling by going performance path or doing a trade-off. So 49 is there, nothing changed, and you can still do the 38 if you wanted to. Now the walls, what they've added in here is a 20 would assume a 2x6 wall. The 13 is a cavity fill. For a 2x4 wall, the 20 is assuming a 2x6 house construction. But New York Stretch says, hey, you can do an R21 to meet the code. Most builders are already doing an R21 fiberglass batt in their exterior walls, so no big deal there. And this is just assuming a wood frame house 2x6 construction or 2x4. You have builders doing ICS, the insulated concrete forms, they're R23 plus, they're doing SIPs, that's COSB with foam. There's multiple options available. So not a tough number to get to. Ceiling, not a tough, no change there. The mass walls, that's your masonry walls and whatnot. If the insulation's on the exterior, it's a 15. If it's on the interior, it has to be a 20. slight bump from what current code is. The floor R value, that's if you have a room above your garage, or if you have a cantilevered floor, that's the floor extending out over your foundation or over the first floor of the house. Has to be an R30, no change. Basement walls, no change. Insulation is either 15 continuous inside or outside the foundation wall, or an R19 cavity fill, no difference. The slab edge insulation, if you have a walkout basement, you'd have to do an R10 at the slab edge, 4 feet down, or you can split it 2 feet down, 2 feet horizontal, 2 feet vertical. No change in R value, just an extra 2 feet. If your house is built on grade, we call it slab on grade, you do an R10 around the perimeter. That's built in the code already. You just have to do an extra 2 feet. And then the crawl space, if you choose to insulate your crawl space. Great idea, bring everything into conditioned space inside the thermal envelope, especially if you have water lines or ductwork. Those numbers did not change. This is kind of a quick rundown of an R value table. But remember, there's 4 other options in the residential code to make a home pass. You can demonstrate compliance with the New York Stretch Code by using ResCheck, which is a free software. Anyone in the United States can use it. It's open to anybody. That's the residential version. Ccac is the commercial building for commercial buildings. I'm sorry, it's the commercial software. Ccac and ResCheck is completely free, and they both have the New York Stretch Energy Code built into it. So an architect or a builder, even a homeowner, could sit down and enter all their information into the software and show that their house is compliant with the New York Stretch Energy Code. It's free. It's a very common software. It's been out there for many years. If you didn't want to go that pathway to show compliance prescriptively, you can use a third party like myself on my HERS Rater, and we can use modeling software to demonstrate compliance with the energy code. That would be performance path options. And then you have your passive house. And all of these options produce lots of good documentation to give to the code officials that makes their job easier for when they do site inspections and reviewing a home or a commercial building for energy code related items. One conflict that did come into play for the New York Stretch Energy Code versus the current New York Energy Code is the requirement there for whole house mechanical ventilation. You have to do whole house mechanical ventilation. The Stretch Code was saying that you had to do what we call a balanced ventilation, and that's using an HRV, heat recovery ventilator, or an ERV, energy recovery ventilator. There is an option for communities to take that segment of the Stretch Code out and just leave it and have the whole house mechanical ventilation match what is currently in the energy code. Or you can choose to keep the HRV, ERV segment of the Stretch Code in, which it's up to you to decide that. But the HRVs, ERVs do add a cost. That can be anywhere from $600 to $700 up to $1,500, depending on the project for a residential home. But in my own opinion, just a side note, my own opinion, I personally would not build a home today without using an HRV or ERV. This eventually is going to become code mandatory in the future. So this is a good option that's already in Stretch now. It's just the best way to ventilate a home and allow the homes to be properly ventilated, because they are built tight, but we build homes tight to save on energy and to reduce size of our heating and cooling systems, which greatly saves the homeowners money when they're selecting their HVAC equipment, whether it be a furnace, a boiler, a air source heat pump, or even going geothermal. Commercial, some differences with commercial buildings, because the Stretch Code does cover residential and commercial. The building envelope for commercial buildings is improved. The prescriptive tables, like I showed you quickly for the R value table for residential, they've improved the numbers for roofs, walls, floors of a commercial building. A lot of commercial buildings are slab on grades. They've increased the insulation amounts there. window U factors, skylights, and doors. All have improved numbers, but nothing beyond normal that many companies don't already do. These products are available and on the market and are being used. They're also looking at requiring blower door testing for commercial buildings, depending on the square footage of the building. And that's a good thing, because if you do a blower door test on a building, you know where the leakage points are, you can seal them. The tighter a building, the less energy it will consume when you're heating and cooling. And this is something that will be coming up as a standard requirement in future energy codes. The New York Stretch Code just activates it a lot earlier. There's also improvements on lighting and plumbing and HVAC systems, more efficient lighting, additional occupancy sensors. We've all driven by and through big cities. You see the buildings and all the lights come on, and it's a Sunday evening or a Saturday night, and we know no one's in those buildings. So occupancy sensors, get these lights shut off. No one's in there. Make sure they're not running when they don't have to. Make sure the lights are dimming when they can dim. Also looking at shorter hot water piping lengths and recirculation options. We all been through that experience. You turn on your shower and you wait 30 seconds to a minute. I know in my house it takes about a minute and a half for the hot water to go from my water heater up to my shower. So reducing water pipe lengths to get the hot water there quicker so we're not wasting water. That's built into the stretch code, and making ducts, have them placed in conditioned space and having them properly sized all contribute to a more energy efficient building. There's also a requirement with the stretch code to have commercial buildings EV ready, electric vehicles, minimum of 10 parking spaces, have breaker space available in the electric panel to add in future parking for electric vehicles, and have the building solar ready. There's no requirement that they have to put solar on the building, but have these commercial buildings constructed where they can accept solar in the future. This is applicable to buildings 5 stories or less, have breaker space in the electric panel, run empty conduit, and conduit is relatively cheap and easy to run. Should not be a big expense for any project, and have at least 40% of the roof space on the south side available for solar panels to be added to that commercial building. So that's just something, since building and planning ahead, so that building can be adjusted and have solar added to it down the road. And there are a lot of companies out there that are transitioning to all electric buildings or switching and adding solar now to existing buildings. So this is a great plan for Stretch to have that built in. And then there's miscellaneous items. Building energy monitoring. They're able to look at energy being consumed live and seeing where they can save energy. Air barrier commissioning, testing the building for any air leakage. The tighter it is, the less energy you're going to use, heating and cooling. Elevator performance in high-rise buildings, more efficient commercial kitchen equipment, and then choosing an additional efficiency package. There's 8 of them in the energy code. Current code, you have to choose 1 efficiency measure. With the stretch code, you have to choose 2 of them. And move on here. New York Stretch also applies to existing buildings, same way that the New York Energy Code applies to existing buildings. It depends on what's happening with that building. None of this will force a current building owner to do any updates to an existing building. But if that building is going to be remodeled or a heavy remodeling project that may have a change of use, Chapter 5 of the New York Energy Code requires things to happen to that building already. So here, if you adopt the New York Stretch, you would just look at items for the New York Stretch Energy Code under Chapter 5 and what would comply. So no existing building needs to be updated, no residential building. It's only for new construction and then for gut rehabs or change of use on a building. So that gives an opportunity for the building owner to make the buildings more energy efficient. Impacts for residential, near climate zone 5 again. They roughly estimated, and these numbers go back a couple years pre-COVID, but they estimated about a 2,200 incremental cost for a residential building in New York State, climate zone 5, simple payback of 5.4 years. Multi-family buildings, incremental cost was about $1,800 with a simple payback of 8.8 years. Meaning anything they do to meet the New York stretch code, you're paying back that investment within 5.5 years and almost 9 years. And then everything else after that is money in their pocket for savings. Commercial buildings, you're looking at a payback of just under 10 years in climate zone 5. Incremental costs of about $1.81 a square foot. And these numbers have all changed, especially with the increase in utility bills. These numbers could probably be pulled back and reduced because of the savings in these stretch buildings are probably even greater with the higher utility bill costs. So I envision if they do update numbers that we're going to see even better payback periods, even with the cost of materials going up, just because the cost of utilities have gone up even more. So here is a list of, it's not an exhaustive list, but this is a list of communities in the Hudson Valley region that have adopted the New York Stretch Energy Code. It's not all of them. I think there's a few missing. But these are communities here. And this map I have on the right of the screen is not completely updated. We have other communities that have adopted throughout the state. But the main area of adoption has been from the Capital District, down the Hudson Valley and out on Long Island, where I'm also a circuit rider.
So Matt, we got 10 minutes left, just wanted to get, so we've got a, just in terms of when the Zoom is gonna, go off, can we move to Q&A, is that possible?
Yeah, let me, I'll just skip these. I just had some examples of communities that are going above and beyond even stretch code. But I can always send you this PowerPoint as
That would
well.
be wonderful.
Yeah, if you could do that, I'll share it with the board.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll just send you this PowerPoint. So if you want, I can take any questions that you may have.
If you want to go.
I know that the time, the deadline is going to expire in terms of adopting the stretch code. When does it open next year? Because if we're going to do something, I'd like a date to know that we could start planning.
The stretch
When
code,
is it typically open?
Yeah, well, the stretch code as is can be adopted at any time by any community.
Right, but
What
we're looking for the incentives.
What does run out is that June 30th deadline for that other grant money.
Right. That's what I'm referring to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's no further option right now where that extra grant money will become available. What their focus will be on is looking at getting New York Stretch, I believe they're calling it New York Stretch 2023 or 2024, will be coming online in a couple of years.
Sure, so, so in terms of the.
Okay, so no grant money for.
Yeah,
Okay, that's what I meant to.
I felt that it was a little too much for us to have to race towards adopting a new energy code to meet a deadline to get $50,000. So,
Right, but yeah,
So,
I agree.
but plus the process, we'd have to pass a local law, so it would be a multi-month process. But I think it was good to start the discussion, and this also will, the plan is to go down the clean energy, to become a clean energy community. That's something that we're going to be working on. I do believe at some point we will be adopting a New York Stretch code, be it this one or one in 2023 or 2024. But I think it's good for us to sort of move down this path to at least have this discussion. I mean, I think we would have really had to meet this deadline. I think we would have not been able to take the time to do our due diligence, and we would have just put a new code into place.
Absolutely.
And I think we wouldn't have been ready for it. So I think,
Yeah, I guess my question was so there's no possibilities for future grants, like does it renew annually? That was where I was getting to.
No,
Let's go to the legislature
they had it
next time.
originally
Okay.
sunset December of last year,
Okay.
and then they were able to get a 6-month extension, and
Okay.
we were hoping that they would extend it again. But they, from what I've been told, they're now gonna focus efforts on creating and getting the newer version of the New York Stretch Code
Okay,
out there.
all right.
And I would think when that comes online, probably a year or two from now, that they might offer grant money again for that. But
Okay.
you are still eligible for that 1,200 points in the Clean Energy Communities Program.
Okay.
And that 1,200 points does get you towards grant money,
Okay,
other grant money.
okay.
And I'm down there, I do a Clean Energy Communities plan review class. I probably have one or two of your code officials in my classes. When they take the 8-hour class that I teach, a plan review class, that gives you points towards Clean Energy Communities to get grant money. So there's a whole list of options, and definitely speak with Kat about that.
Okay.
There's a great list out there showing you the points, and like if your community, has your community adopted LED lighting, street lighting?
We're actually
Yeah,
working
yeah.
on it, we're working on it.
Yeah, there's points for that. Solar ready permits, if you've done stuff with solar, there's points for that. So there's a lot of options available. And New York Stretch is just another avenue.
There's things you
to
can
get
work
points.
Okay,
And if you do adopt the stretch code, the builders won't be shell-shocked when they see the next code cycle, when the next code
okay.
comes out.
Makes sense.
This will be kind of an easier transition for them,
Gotcha.
because we are looking at a potential 6-year period with no new energy code.
So this could potentially be like a good transition step, adopt 2020,
Mhm.
you know, let the builders get used to it, and then when even more prescriptive code comes out in 6 years, they won't be shocked because they'll be used to at least some of the measures that are,
Okay,
so, okay.
thank you.
Is there any other questions from other board members? No?
I just, if you could get me Matt's contact info, just a couple procedural questions about enacting it as a local law. Or if I could get his phone number or email. I know he's sending the
Yeah.
PowerPoint on, but I'll just hook up with him if that's
Newport
okay.
Ventures, something.
Yeah, I've got that cell.
Nice,
Yeah.
NYSERDA put together a really nice pre-worded document reviewed by Department of State, that if a community uses that language, you pretty much just pop your town name in.
I don't know
and
about
it'll
that.
Be good to go.
Yeah, but
Well, Steve will have to review it, yeah.
you'll have to review.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, Matt, I really want to thank you. I know we've been trying to do this for a while now, and I'm glad we were finally able to get the presentation going. So we'll definitely be on the lookout for the PowerPoint, and, you know, I appreciate your time tonight.
Yeah, hey, I appreciate it as well. Thank you, everyone, and always look for the different options and opportunities out there. Stretch is just one of them, but glad to hear you're gonna look into the Clean Energy Communities Program. There's a lot of good money out there, and always keep your eye open for NYSERDA announcing new grant funding opportunities. And you never know, we might be surprised that they come back with grant money for the stretch like they currently had. You never know. I just got word Monday that they weren't gonna extend it, but hey, you never know. Maybe they'll have the newer stretch in place sooner than later, and there'll be grant money with that avenue. But definitely take a look at this one, talk about it, see what we want to do with it, and let me know.
Okay.
And I'll send you over the PowerPoint and some links as well.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Have a good night.
All right, thanks, everyone. Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Bye-bye.
So, all right. So, moving on. Thanks, everyone, for your patience. All right, so next up, we have Treetop Company's warehouse project update. So I just wanted to provide an update. Look, we've reached our first significant milestone. So the planning board has adopted the scope for the environmental impact statement. And so I know we posted this online, and this is also available on Treetop's project website with a link from our website, but it's, we've got 17 pages of questions covering everything from traffic to the economic impact. They're going to have a lot of work to do over the next 2 to 3 to 4 months, however long it's gonna take them. And so, look, the next process is driven by the applicant. So if this takes them 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, I don't have a crystal ball, I can't tell you how long it's gonna take, but at some point, they will be back. And so they will turn this over to the planning board, all of the responses. They will prepare a DEIS, a draft environmental impact statement, that gets submitted to the planning board for review. And so then the planning board, they review it. There's probably gonna be a few drafts back and forth as, the planning board is asking questions, consultants are talking, and at a certain point in time, we're gonna arrive on the final, it'll basically be a final environmental impact statement that'll be approved by the planning board. Before that gets approved, there's going to be public hearings. So the public will have a chance to weigh in on the responses that Treetop has made, and so that'll be part of the process. That, I can't foresee that happening until the fall,
Okay.
at the earliest. And so, but also when they come, so once we have the final environmental impact statement, once that happens, they're also going to be coming to potentially the zoning board of appeals for variances. I believe there's certain variances they're looking for. They are coming to the town board because they're seeking a discretionary zoning change. So there are different, so once we get into the fall, other bodies will start looking at this. And so, certainly we will, the public will be fully notified as to what is going on. We will make sure that, and I know in terms of the public meetings, I know the Munger Cottage was perhaps not adequate for that meeting. And so just to address that, we had actually tried to go to the school district to get a larger space. But at that point in time, they had not changed their policy to let outside groups come into the school. They have since changed their policy. So I know for the fall, I've already spoken to the planning board attorney and the planning board. We will be looking to move that big public hearing, on the final environmental impact statement to either the middle school or the high school. It'll be live streamed. We will make sure that there is full access and that the public is able to participate in different ways. And so you can just expect that to happen. I think I got everything on. Do you guys have any questions about the process? Okay. So next up we have the Sands Ring plantings invoice. And so just to, I know we put out there for the public, we have to, pretty much everything we're gonna act on has to be put public out on our website. It's now a state requirement. And so the invoice was put out, I believe, on Friday. More recently, we have a plan. It's basically a rough sketch that I've added to that, just because there was questions that people had about. So the rough, yeah. So this is in packets for board members. This is just basically a sketch, and I believe a list of possible plantings. I think this was either done last year or earlier this year, but just so folks would, just have an idea. We've got a invoice for $1,957.
Right, the other one was for Bridge Street, that's a
Oh,
separate,
yeah.
just so you know.
Okay. So we have, so we've got one invoice for $1,957 for Sands Ring Park.
Mm-hmm.
And we have another invoice for $291, that's for Bridge Street. And so the way it works in terms of the money for Sands Ring, the town board has to authorize the expenditure of funds in the Sands Ring trust account.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to authorize the 1957 for the Sands Ring trust account. And we can also authorize the spending for the $291 for Bridge Street as well. So if I could get a motion to approve the spending for Sands Ring in the amount of $1,957, if I get a motion to approve.
I do have a question before we go through that. I was told that the tiles with the stones at Sandman's Park, a couple of them are not, they need to be changed, is that correct?
So let me just address that. So last year, we had a local contractor, they did the work, and, it does appear as though some of the stonework is coming up, needs to be repaired, possibly replaced. So we're reaching out to that contractor to come back and to fix the work. As far as the plantings, I've gone over this with Virginia, and we believe that the plantings that are going to be done will not, the stonework that has to be fixed will not impact the plantings.
No.
So that's sort of where we're at with that. So we basically, and my plan is to meet the contractor out there this week. I've asked Tommy and AJ to, get me in touch with the contractor. We're gonna go out and take a look, see what needs to be fixed. It may end up just being a relatively minor fix, but we don't see a need to just stop the planting, because we don't think that fix is gonna impact because I believe you said that the plants are far enough back, and then
Yes.
some of the trees are actually not even by the stonework,
No.
they're actually further,
They're in the back.
they're further back. So,
And from the sketch, please, explain, are there going to be more benches, or this is just my understanding? that there-
This was a sketch that was done by, I'm trying to remember, originally before we had approved, Josh, I'm sure you remember, back in the fall,
yeah.
we were basically just approving the pavers. And as far as yes, there were possibilities of benches, but I also think that a lot of this should go to the Sands Ring trustees. This is their property, this is their park, and if they come forward with wanting benches, we on the Main Street Beautification Committee will work with them. So a lot of this is we're taking the lead from the trustees. They've had a lot of input in terms of the trees and the plantings, again, with respect to this park.
So, are there going to be 2 more benches or not? I still
Again,
didn't
that
get
will go back to the trustees and we'll ask them. I did not go there with them yet. We wanted to get plantings in because there has been nothing there but 3 benches. I know that
The
that was the
additional
older
2
one, right, but that
The
was.
additional 2 benches that were part of the original bid, I believe from Hudson Seal Coat, was to, I think it was for what, bluestone benches, and so I'm not sure,
I'm going to check on that. I don't know if the
I'm not
benches
sure
were
if we,
part of it.
well, I'm not sure if we took that off,
Right.
or if but it was part of his original bid, and so I think that's what these 2 benches are, is those bluestones, so this is basically the sketch from last year. So right now, yeah, we've got 3 benches, we're about to approve plants. The other 2 benches will be, discussed.
Oh, yeah, definitely, we can investigate that if it is part of the bid, we'll do that. Again, I definitely want to allow the trustees to actually decide whether they want those benches there or not as well, because again, I'm going to reiterate, it's their park. And, I as the liaison, I'm just here to communicate what they're asking for.
Yeah, I think just to make clear about it, so the town board does have final say over everything that happens in that park and funding, so we do have a role in that process. So we will certainly take their advice, and we happen to like what they've decided, but they don't have the final say. The town board does. If you look through the documents
Oh,
and you
okay,
actually.
okay, well,
So-
I'm looking at this as a form
Yeah.
of respect.
Oh, no, of
For,
course. I just
the
want to,
community.
make sure that everyone is clear on the town board has final authority over the spending of the money in
Okay,
that account.
that's fine.
So, but we do like the design that was put together, and, the plantings seem fine to me.
Yeah,
So-
and I want to say, these volunteers, they went out with me. Maureen Buckley is out here, she's one of the chairs of the Main Street Beautification Committee, and Elsa Cameron. Also, we drove out to Jansen's, I believe we spent over 2.5 hours out there. They were painstakingly asking questions of the owner, who was very patient and took them around, helped them select the right trees. So I really appreciate the time. They're not just throwing things in, they're really making a mindful plan to make it accurate to this, what Sands Ring is about.
No,
I just want to say that.
no, sir, I think the town board certainly appreciates the work they've put into this, and this is certainly a detailed, plan, and so, let's get back to approving the, if I could get a motion to approve the plants in the amount of $1,957, to come out of the Sands Ring trust account. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Michael Rossi?
No.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes. Next up, I've got, the invoice for $291 for Bridge Street. Can I get a motion to approve the spending for $291 for the plants for Bridge Street?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Michael Rossi?
No.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes. All right, so next up, we have the Deets family dedicate bench in memory of Chris Dietz. So, after last week's meeting, the board had asked me to reach out for more details on where it would go and what, for a sketch. And so I received an email back from Jennifer, who is Chris Dietz's sister. They're looking to put it near the flagpole over by the pool. That's where they're looking to put it. And they're actually gonna be, they've reached out to the Randazzos to help build or design the bench. So, last week it was a metal bench, but they've now said that they're actually gonna have a design that's gonna be built out of wood. So they're going through that process. I don't particularly have an issue with approving it, but if you wanna wait until you see the design from Eugene, or if, I think we have a location now of it, I'd be happy to approve. I would also wait if you have questions. So that's,
No, I think the only thing I want to say is I do agree with Councilwoman Michael Rossi, the fact that there have been a couple of benches that have been asked, to place on here. I do think as a town board, we at least get just an idea of location. I'm also mindful, I talked with our highway and buildings and grounds personnel, and when we're placing these things, we should be considering, how they're going to be able to take care of them, move equipment around them, things like that. So again, I know it's a very delicate situation when you're, a memorial bench and it's someone who passes, but I just think going forward, I know we have a policy, but maybe we should, really present that to anyone who's thinking of doing this.
yeah.
So there's no surprises for them, because this is the last thing I would want to do to a potential donor.
Yeah, I would think that going forward, we should come up with a more
Yeah.
formalized policy for how we're gonna do
Yes,
this,
I
because
do.
otherwise we're gonna end up with benches
And I don't want to hurt
randomly.
anyone's feelings, and I just want something consistent. I agree.
I definitely agree with Mrs. Scott on that. To have also the benches will look unified and they look not the same, but at least
Character.
build a character.
Okay.
Yes. And make the town looks good too.
So I think if the board's okay, we'll approve this one, and then we'll look to formalize the policy before we allow anything else.
Okay.
So if I could, so if I could get a motion to approve the Deets family, the dedicated bench in memory of Chris Deets.
So moved. Second?
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Michael Rossi?
Yes.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes. Okay, so next up we have Iwork IMA update. So look, this just seems to be the never-ending IMA, but it does look like at the July 5th meeting that we will be able to act on this IMA in agreement with Iwork. So,
Okay.
it's taken a while to work it out with the other municipality. And so I've already notified, his name's Devin. I let him know today what
Okay.
the process.
Devin Wilder's-
Yeah, I let him know, just because he kept asking, and so he's fully aware of that that's gonna be the case now. So, so next up, I'm just gonna sort of touch upon these bond resolutions just more broadly first here. So, we've got 4 bond resolutions. We've got one for highway vehicles and equipment. And so that is that's roughly $1.3 million. We've got another bond resolution for $75,000. That is for the Buildings and Grounds Department. We have a third that is for the Continental Road Culvert. That one is for the bridge culvert that washed out during Hurricane Ida. That is roughly $880,000. That is what the engineer has estimated the cost of that project to cost, with just additional 10% overrun on that, because you got to build that in. And then the 4th bond resolution is the one for Hasbrook area drainage improvements. That's basically the project that would fix the drainage problems on Hasbrook, Robert Road, and Sheldon. That we currently have a $2 million community appropriation from Congressman Maloney. That we will find out in October the status of that. We have a $2 million resubmitted FEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant Program grant that we had to resubmit, because the previous application, the way that works is FEMA goes on a 1-to-1 cost to benefit ratio. We were like way above it, so we had to like bring it down and like bring it within line. So that grant's only for $2 million. Only covers about 2/3 of the cost of the project. So we have these 4 resolutions. The one that is important that we act on tonight is the Continental Road Culvert project, because in order to have that bridge and culvert done by, say, September, we're gonna need to be able to have the money on hand, so that the second that the DEC approves the work in the stream and the bridge design, which we expect like any day, we can then order the culvert, we can have it, and we'll have the money on hand to pay for it when it's delivered. But we don't just have a free $880,000 lying around. So what we need to do is bond the money out. And then FEMA will be reimbursing the town 90% of the cost. We have a 10% cost share. And so we expect to have that money before the end of the year. So basically short-term borrowing, get the money back from FEMA, pay off the band. So that's essentially, and I would ask that we act on that tonight. The other 3, I would say talk to Tommy, talk to AJ, talk to Pam, discuss with me. We can sort of decide what can be put off, what cannot be put off. As far as like the larger ask, the $3.3 million drainage project, that is something that the town needs to act on at some point. And so, we did last year tell the residents that if the money didn't come through, we would borrow to do it. We did say that to them. So maybe the timing's not right now, but at some point we do need to address it, because it's been decades of a problem over there. And so I would just ask that, let's take the next couple weeks, let's ask the right questions, let's talk to Tommy, to Sean, to Pam, let's get the answers. But as far as tonight, we gotta act on the Continental Road Culvert.
Okay. The other thing I would just want to ask is, like, we have this ARPA money. Why are we going to use any of this towards infrastructure?
We are, because
this would help a lot of people and provide services.
So yes, so we are going to use the ARPA money.
Okay.
If we borrow the 800,
All right, so like that 10%, for example, the 10%, could we
Yes.
use the ARPA?
yes, that's the plan.
funds?
Yes,
Okay,
that is
that's
actually
fine.
the plan, is to pull the
That makes
100K
sense.
out for that, yes.
Okay.
Whatever is left of the ARPA, the plan is, to whatever we borrow, in addition to this, we will take pretty much whatever is left of the ARPA and see, and try to make a sizable contribution
Absolutely.
towards that.
Okay.
But, so
That
that's
makes
sort of,
sense.
and I think what we can sort of get together over the next week is sort of and I had started this.
Okay, great.
And so essentially, that's kind of, take Hasbrook, right? Let's say we decided to do Hasbrook. It's 3.3 million, we borrow it, right? We could, right off the bat, probably put a $500,000 of ARPA towards that project. And then, let's say we get 2 million from Maloney. That takes another 2 million, and that pays off the borrowing, right? And then you get another portion from FEMA, and that pays off the rest. Or on the flip side, you put it towards, some of the equipment purchases, that are needed in the highway department. But yes, we do have a chunk of money in ARPA that is intended for these types of things.
Right. Yeah, because I really want to talk about the 5-year plan as well, because again, see what's in the fleet. I know last year there was a little controversy on, we're going to buy trucks. We need structures to actually, cover them. So I do want to speak with Tommy and you about, like, how do we prioritize all those things? Thank you for putting that list together, because it's very helpful. Now, as a board member, I want to go out and support, but I want to prioritize. Steve, I don't know if this is a legal question, or Josh, you may know the answer. Once we go out to bond, we can no longer apply for grants, like I'm thinking like Hasbrook. Am I correct on that?
No, you can always apply for
Oh, but
grants.
even if we bond, again, I'm just
If
asking.
you bond, you don't have to even draw down on it.
Okay, that's a good, all right. That actually solves one of my.
Yeah, no, this,
No, I honestly did not know, so that's why I was asking the question.
yeah, this just basically, the money would go into a separate account for the project,
Uh-huh.
and then if grant funding comes in, the grant funding is used to then pay down
Great.
the.
Okay, I just didn't want to make sure we weren't closing any doors.
Oh, no,
So-
yes.
Since these 4 bonds, there are topics that they have been returning to our town board meetings in the past, at least several years, why can't we just take care of them right away? Why do we have to wait? I mean, just voting for it. I mean, these are not a brand new problem. I mean, the highway department wanting a brand new vehicle for several years, and it costs 1.8 million, according to what I gathered. So can we just take care of it at once?
So I think that if there are other board members that have questions
Mhm.
about this, that it would be, and I know I asked them last week to sort of talk to Tommy and Pam, but I believe the timing in terms, so Pam was on vacation, Tommy was out,
Right.
so I think I don't know that I want to have the board members forced to take a vote until they've had a chance to talk to the highway department and to Pam.
Well, what I meant wasn't
Yeah.
exactly tonight, but in the next session or two, just take care of it, so.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I think board members can get all the information they need probably within a week or two of talking to Tommy and Pam and, just sort of getting the, Sean Arnott, the town
Absolutely.
engineer, so I think that's sort of the way that I would, but in terms of the culvert, we do need to act on that tonight so that we can.
As far as the equipment goes,
Yeah.
yes, we do need it. It's just a question of
Yeah,
How we.
Yeah.
how bad are the worst ones.
Exactly.
yeah, so I think, and then in terms of just so, and you had asked this question the previous week, do we have to pay for it before it's delivered? And the answer is no, so we pay for it upon delivery. And so one of the reasons why we do want to act on some equipment is because we've got this 2-year time period now where
Right.
we just, ordered plows last year, we're not gonna have them until next year after the winter's over. So we need to get stuff into the queue to have it, so that's something else we have to consider too.
Okay.
So then, let me just get to the one that we are going to act on. This would be the one for $855,000. So, so this one I am going to ask that we waive the reading on, so I don't have to read 30 pages of this. And just to be clear for folks out there that are watching, the state has a requirement now that everything we're gonna act on has to be posted online. So all of the stuff is actually, this has been available to the public since last Friday. It's on the website, it's posted to Facebook, it's fully available. I don't expect members of the public to listen and understand verbatim me reading a resolution. It's available on the website and on the Facebook page. So that is available, and, you know, that's something that we make sure that we have up. Everything we're gonna act on is on the website and on the Facebook page in advance. So for this resolution, I will ask that if I could get a motion to waive the reading of the bond resolution for the Continental Road Culvert.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Scott?
No.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Michael Rossi?
Yes.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes. And can I get a motion to authorize, starting with, a motion authorizing the improvement and/or replacement of a culvert on Continental Road, stating the estimated cost thereof is $855,000, appropriating said amount for such purpose, and authorizing the issuance of bonds in the principal amount of $855,000 to finance said appropriation. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved. Second?
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Michael Rossi?
Yes.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes. Okay, so, all right. Next up, we have it's a resolution, to amend the pool feasibility study to add the comprehensive plan for the park. And so, Senator Skoufis gave us $200,000 for River Light Park improvements, and part of that is the planning and the design work and the bidding of the playground. And so what we would be doing is adding to the pool agreement roughly $12,500. It would, sorry about that, it's written going down here. We would be adding $4,400 to the agreement, making the pool agreement a total of $16,900. The $4,400 is for the design work for the master plan and laying out where the playground's gonna go. This would be reimbursable from the $200,000 from State Senator Skoufis. But we're just amending this agreement so we can add these additional services. And as you're aware, we won't, we'll have to wait till we have a project number from the state senator before we engage in the design work, or we can't be reimbursed by it. So we'll wait until we have a project ID before we start the design process. We should have that sometime later this summer or early fall. So whereas the town board has undertaken the River Light Pool replacement project, whereas the town board has received proposed amendment to the River Light Pool Replacement Agreement from MHE Engineering for additional services to be performed, a copy of which is attached. Now therefore be resolved as follows. The town board of the town of Cornwall does hereby approve the amendment to the River Light Pool Replacement Agreement with MHE Engineering, DPC, and the town board hereby authorizes the town supervisor to execute the amendment to the River Light Replacement Agreement with MHE Engineering, DPC, and any documents necessary to carry out the terms and provisions thereof. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Michael Rossi?
Yes.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes. Okay, so next up, we have this is a motion to basically amend an engineering agreement for an additional scope of services. The DEC is requiring that we take into account an additional sea level rise of 16 inches.
Okay.
And this has to be basically done by next year. And so the additional engineering is going to cost roughly $40,000. And we're gonna have to amend the existing engineering services agreement to add those additional costs that MHE is gonna have to do in order to essentially bring the plant up to compliance. And so this is something we have to get into place because it has to be done by next year.
Do we have a deadline? When
It's
you
gotta
say
be
next
done.
year,
It's gotta be done by the end of 2023. And so
Okay.
we need to do the engineering this year, and we've gotta get it
Okay.
done by the,
Right, okay.
so, whereas the town maintains the Shore Road wastewater treatment plant project, and whereas the town has received a request from MHE Engineering for authorization to provide additional services on the Shore Road wastewater treatment plant project, a copy of which is attached. Now therefore be resolved as follows. The town board of the town of Cornwall does hereby approve the request for approval of said additional services, authorization with MHE Engineering DPC, and the town board hereby authorizes the town supervisor to execute the additional services authorization with MHE DPC. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second,
Ms. Scott?
yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Michael Rossi?
Yes.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes. Okay, so, next up, I have a resolution to authorize MHE to prepare a grant application for a new salt storage shed, which we desperately need. This would be a lump sum fee in the amount of $2,500 to prepare the application. Whereas the town of Cornwall wishes to submit an application for the Consolidated Funding Act Water Quality Improvement Program grant for a salt storage shed, and whereas the town's engineering consultant, MHE Engineering, has submitted a task order under the professional services agreement with the town for preparation of the application for the said CFA WQIP grant, a copy of which is attached here too. Now therefore it be resolved as follows. That the town board hereby authorizes submission of the application and approves the said task order, and that the town supervisor and its consultants are authorized to prepare, execute, and submit all documents necessary and appropriate for the grant application. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Michael Rossi?
Yes.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes. All right, finally, we have a grant, this is a resolution for MHE to prepare a MS4 mapping grant application. This is also part of the consolidated funding application. It would be for $2,500. And so let me just, and I believe I touched upon this last week, but basically, as the town is the permitted municipal MS4 entity, we have to review stormwater plant SWIPs by pretty much anywhere in town. If the school district, if they're a non-traditional MS4, which we're not sure, we're waiting to hear if they are or not, we would also have to review projects that take place on school property if it disturbs more than an acre of, so, but in terms of, the state is requiring permitted MS4s to do all new GIS mapping of the entire town. And so that cost is gonna be somewhere around $75,000, and it has to be done by next year. So this grant would allow us to basically pay for the cost of meeting the, and we basically have no choice. Because we're the permitted, traditional MS4. So we really need to get this grant. But anyway, so whereas the town of Cornwall wishes to submit an application for a Consolidated Funding Act Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System MS4 Mapping Program grant to create an updated GIS system of stormwater mapping, and whereas the town's engineering consultant, MHE Engineering, has submitted a task order under professional services agreement with the town for preparation of the application for the said CFA MS4 grant, a copy of which is attached here too. Now therefore be resolved as follows. That the town board hereby authorizes submission of the application and approves the said task order, and that the town supervisor and its consultants are authorized to prepare and execute and submit all documents necessary and appropriate for the grant application. Can I get a motion to approve?
Second.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Michael Rossi?
Yes.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes. All right, so next up, we have committee reports. Rocha, do you have anything?
Yes.
Oh, sure.
Let me see. The youth committee met on May 18, and unfortunately I could not attend this meeting because of passing my twin sister. However, I did get the report that there's going to be a event, color run that ends at the town hall, and it's this race is sponsored by Rec Department, and it's going to be on Saturday, September 24th, and a rain date on September 25th. So that's one event. The next youth committee is going to be on July 5th, 6 p.m. That's the report from the youth committee. On the CCAC meeting, let me see what I wrote here. Okay. The committee is working on the tree ordinance again. If that has been going on to create it and also working on it. The discussion about Rings Pond and the problem that has been created there. They're trying to figure that out. And the last one is, let me see. Oh, this most importantly, the CCAC is reaching out to the community and seeing if anybody would like to join as a new member. They are looking for, there are a few vacancies.
I believe there's at least one vacancy.
Yes, at least one, yes,
Okay.
correct. And let me see what else I have. And on the, as a liaison for the parks, Supervisor Wojcicki and I have been working on laying out a plan for Riverlight Park, which is around the playground and playgrounds, tennis courts, possibly pickleball courts, discussing that. I've been assisting with a few projects here and there, and that's about it on my end.
Councilmember Scott?
All right, so the Senior Advisory Committee, they did appoint Alice Hall as the chair of the committee. We actually participated at the car show, where the seniors actually conducted a survey to find out, first of all, some of the seniors, they don't know where the recreation department is anymore because they were going to historical society. So there's something about, just communication and knowing the events are going on. On Monday is our next meeting. We're going to be evaluating the survey, and the seniors want to set up some long-term goals. They haven't been active, since the pandemic, and they are eager to bring more people, seniors especially, back into the Munger Cottage and to be more active. So on July 7th, they have organized a summer luncheon, and that's going to be at Ccac Park, Plum Point, and there is a flyer that has just been submitted, and that's going to go around. It's going to be $5 per person, and we have a limit of 40 people for that site. Want to report on Jewish Family Services, the Friendly Visitor Program that we have invested in. We have now Town of Cornwall rack cards with our phone number, email, so we're official. The goal now that I'm working on is to work with Jewish Family Services to establish the advisory board for Cornwall. This will require training, so volunteers are going to have to, there's Zoom meetings, so they're going to be in the evening or during the day. I just want to say the town's investment of $5,000 has generated over 83 hours of volunteer services directly to Cornwall residents at a value of $2,485.85. That they calculate that with volunteer hours. So we're about halfway in terms of our investment, so I'm very pleased at that. The number of neighbors that are assisted each month continue to grow. The enrolled neighbors are now up to 17. I think now with the pandemic, people feel a little safer to work with volunteers, and the volunteers are getting trained. We still need volunteers. Unfortunately, they did cancel a number of calendar events. This is when a client will schedule an appointment like to a doctor's visit. They had to actually cancel 11 because there's no volunteers available. So I'm gonna still have that call out, and thank you. I know we've been putting it on the site, and we have been getting volunteers. So I'll move to the Mooney Creek Intermunicipal Watershed Committee. It's just a very general report. Supervisor Wojciechowski and I actually met with county engineers, and we evaluated the study that was done on the Mill Street embankment erosion. The county has placed it, this project on high priority. They do have funding, and the next step over the following 6 weeks is they're going to set up equipment along the slope, and they're going to be doing, working on accessibility to get more technical data in terms of the hydrology and the soil composition. The LED lighting, as we know, we have Real-Term Energy to come in and do the audit. That was presented on the 14th. Exciting that the town of Cornwall will actually, if this project goes through, we're talking about a 74% energy savings. And again, that's going to qualify us with, for points with NYSERDA. And they will work directly with NYSERDA to help the process go along, so that's a good thing. The replacement of lights, there's 241, and we're looking about $84,057. The town takes ownership for the lights and contract Real-Term for maintenance. Overall, the whole project will estimate about $300,000, $1,100,594. This will include acquisition costs. We have to actually buy them from Central Hudson. And will save the town over this 20-year project. It's a payback of $1,777,588 in electricity cost. So we'll be reducing greenhouse gases, 45 metric tons in the first couple of years, but then we're talking about over the lifetime of the lights, we're talking about 1,025 metric tons, and the savings of our investment will be in about 3.4 years that will actually pay this off. So I'm looking excited to that. Next month, the EV charging station, they will be presenting that in July. Camo, that's our sewer for Cliff and Shore. I'm happy to announce this is the first month that we are actually within limits in terms of flow, and I think that typically happens every spring. Much as, again, the stormwater, Firth Cliff Heights, there are still some concerns about the pipeline placement and the crossing, so we're talking about some meter upgrades that are in the district as well. Main Street beautification, first of all, a lot of positive, and I know when we talk about positive feelings in the town. Bridge Street, a lot of people are excited, the planters, the benches. I've seen, I know our goal together on Memorial Day was to have the benches in place and all the plantings, and I saw a lot of people really enjoy the space, so I thank everyone, including our wonderful highway department and our buildings and grounds who did that heavy lifting, all right, so thank you. We still have more to go. We put the platform and the sculpture out. We're also going to be putting some more of the other two planters in as well. Sans Ring, thank you for your support in the plants. I think it's important for the 4th, especially the 4th of July, to have something out there and to show pride of our town.
I just want to make sure though that we
We're going to make this right. If I have to watch it like a hawk, it's going to happen.
Fixed.
Exactly. I give you my word. I'm going out there and I will watch. The other concern that came up, and I do agree, I would definitely, as far as the triangle, there's this mound of dirt, and we really, I want to look forward to maybe smoothing it out, just making it look presentable, because we have a nice circle right now. I just say, let's kind of smooth out the pile of dirt. And
that was from what, borings or work done by the?
I guess someone just, as I was told by Buildings and Grounds, someone just dumped it there. I don't know who. Can you tell me, you have any ideas? Thank you.
I know where it came from.
Where'd it come from?
It came from the Sands Rooms Park.
Did they? Okay.
Really?
So they just had to move it out for the,
Well, originally we were gonna put fill there,
yes.
then we were told we couldn't because of the bridge work. So we stopped after the first
Okay.
load.
All right, well, thank you. I didn't mean to publicly, I should ask you in private, but all right.
All good.
All right, that's all good. Again, I think that we're actually talking about just making it nice, maybe mowing, trying to mow the grass, which I do have seen it done, but just to try to make it presentable. And we'll discuss maybe some things we want to just do there temporarily. Obviously, you and I will talk to the county and see their timeline and what we can and cannot do.
They basically, so as far as the Triangle Park is concerned, they would actually like us to get a more, well, no, a more, they want to know, have a design, like an actual, like, engineered design.
Yeah, I think they
before-
actually
yeah.
volunteered, they actually
Yeah.
said they were going to do it, so that's a good
So,
thing.
so, you know,
Okay.
that will be good when we have that, because, you know, we'll have a more sort of like idea of what it's gonna look like
Excellent.
with the bridge.
Okay, so maybe that's, we'll have the committee just go through and maybe come up with some ideas, and then, you know, when the county is actually going to do the design, we'll have some things.
They may be using it as a staging area.
They are gonna use it, yes. So
Yeah, they are.
I'm
So we
saying
basically-
you
yeah.
know, I'm trying to.
They just need to
prepare.
know, like, how we envision the park looking in
Okay.
like 3 years or so, but we're finally out of there.
So then that will be something that I ask the committee and we'll present it to the board. All right, that's it.
Just to be
Thank
clear,
you.
so the county's gonna give us the architectural landscape for the Triangle Park?
So
Or the committee's gonna do that? A little bit of both?
So in terms of that, for that particular project, I do think we need a properly laid out design. As far as like the plantings and that sort of thing, I think that's something that the committee can certainly work on. I mean, there's, you know, non-structural permanent
Right.
elements that they can sort of have some input in, but the more permanent designed stuff, structural stuff, that's gotta be engineered.
And
Yeah.
perhaps if the county's going to be using that property, if we're going to raise any elevations, we
Yeah.
can have them do
They
that.
could do
Oh, yeah, no, this is why we
Yeah,
have a plan that can.
they did
yeah.
have that in our informational meeting. Remember when we went to
Yes.
the one in Munger? They did say that, and they actually were saying, when I asked them about the lighting, they said they would actually help us, they would actually do the lighting as well. So a lot of good things. I know that we're not getting things done there, but we're gonna get a lot of things from the county in the long run.
Yeah, no,
So-
absolutely. Just one thing real quick on sort of the Bridge Street project. So I think, you know, we're now sort of, in my mind, at a point where we've got the sculpture in place, the string lights are gonna go up, we've got benches, we've got bollard boxes, we've got some plantings. As far as like, you know, really anything else like structural or major, I would, you know, I think we've kind of like, it's probably time for like a pause, I would think, right? And so,
Absolutely, and
and
that's
so-
one of the things that, like,
Yeah.
in all honesty, the committee has been reacting to a lot of, you know, suggestions or things that were put in, and we are really looking forward as a committee to sitting back and, you know, we put the big things in, and now we're
So what I
going, we
would-
want to sit down and actually
this
work
is
on
something
it.
that I wanna talk to the committee about, is I would like, sort of moving on, is if we could get, you know, let's get a sketch of what phase one is, so we can have it, and then moving forward, if we could sort of work off of, like, maybe as we're gonna add additional things, kind of update the sketch, or have just maybe some more
Sure.
formal plans, that we don't gotta ask for.
Right, if you give us time, because we want
Yeah,
to
sure.
do the other
Yeah.
things, and, you know, these people are volunteering a lot. I mean, I really appreciate the volunteers, because
No,
on a
I do.
90-degree day, they were out there working, and, you know, I think they do want to have a pause, and they want to sit down, and they really want to, like you say, we've looked at the sketches, they do have ideas as well, and.
Let's maybe come up with like
Exactly.
let's lay out on a piece of paper what's done, and then
Absolutely.
we'll kinda,
Okay, that's
Okay.
fine,
okay.
perfect.
Carrie?
For the month of May, the Highway Department or the Building Department issued 30 permits, 14 certificates of compliance, 2 certificates of occupancy, 1 demolition permit, 31 on-site inspections were performed, 3 complaints were investigated, 3 notices of violation were issued. They took in $11,634 in permit fees and $3,600 for municipal searches, 9 of them, and a $25 Airbnb fee. No new planning board projects were opened and new zoning board projects were opened. The Highway Department assisted sanitation with call-outs as usual. Swept roads on the 2022 road resurface list. Did road mowing townwide, ditches and Ridge Road, the Boulevard, Hasbrook, Jager Drive, Sky Drive, and Mountain Brook were cleaned. Blacktop patching of Road Park, Tree Streets, Brookcliff Neighborhood, and Mount Airy Road. They assisted Highland Falls with a water leak. They hauled blacktop for Woodbury. This is a time of year when all municipalities kind of get together and help each other. They hauled blacktop for Cornwall and Hudson. They cleaned up down trees, one on Long Hill Road, two on Mine Hill Road. They assisted buildings and grounds with planting trees for Arbor Day. They removed the Bonnie Blair Monument. They trimmed trees at Veterans Monument. They installed new bollards at Bridge Street Park. They filled with stone and dirt plantings. They replaced pipe on Alfred Street. They repaired plow damage at a few locations around the town. Installed new electrical stanchion and conduit in the ground for the new pavilion. They checked catch basins townwide, vacuumed out any that needed it, and made a list for repairs to be made. And cleaned up yard waste dump at end of Howard Road, the old town dump. They did stump grinding of 2 stumps from tree removals. A mechanic repaired a blown tire on the 2014 International dump truck, which caused damage under the hood. The 1996 International dump trucks were broken, or they worked on the brakes. 2010 F-35, no air conditioning from melted wires over the winter. And mechanic serviced the 2019 Bobcat, 2018 John Deere loader, and the buildings and grounds pickup trucks. That's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Karen. All right, so for the police department for the month of May, I've got calls for service 697, miles driven 7,912, total miles for 2020. Total miles as of May 31st, 2022. 34,929. Traffic and appearance tickets issued, 72. Parking tickets issued, 3. Motor vehicle accidents reported, 34. Arrests made, 4. So those are all the important ones. Let me just sort of, some residents have been asking about how are we going to provide security for summer camp at Lee Road? And so I've spoken to Chief Hazard about this. Yeah. The village, I believe, is going to be providing an officer outside of its summer rec camp. And so I spoke to Chief Hazard about this. And so initially I thought, oh, maybe we could have the SRO officers do it. But because we have a PVA contract, we potentially have this issue where if we don't use our own guys to do the work, we're going to look at potentially a grievance. And so, we have so we are going to try to work within the department, but we have a retirement that's taking place later this month, and so we're going to have to fill that. So we're going to be down a guy. We've not budgeted for this, nor, I don't know that we're fully staffed for this, but the chief is going to do his best to try to have coverage, at the Lee Road camp from 9 to 1 on days that he can. Other days, we'll have an officer go there and basically, be there throughout the day. Maybe he'll respond from calls from there, and he'll go back after he's done responding to a call. But, the residents are, they're concerned that, look, we've got, a couple hundred kids over at Lee Road. There's no security. And in this day and age, unfortunately, parents think that their kids are a target, and they want to have some protection. And so, I thank the chief for trying to work this out. We're going to do our best. I don't know if the chief has anything to add to that, but we're gonna do our best to try to make sure that we have an officer there as much as possible during the 6 to 8 weeks that we have camp.
The officer's gonna be there like continuous hours or just checking, coming and going?
So on days where it's possible to have them there, we will have them there. On other days, it's not going to be possible because you got to understand that when we're down to full timer, we've got vacations over the summer. This wasn't a planned for, budgeted for activity, so we're going to do our best to accommodate these safety concerns that parents have. So that's really the best that we can do this year, and then the board can decide if, for next year, if we can, make sure that we have, maybe a part-timer or someone that's gonna handle this, and we can properly budget it for it. So that's what we're gonna be looking at doing. And this all kind of came about the last couple of weeks. So, the other thing that the chief brought up as well, you may have seen, we had this issue with Econo towing. We basically had sometimes tow companies price gouge people, depending on, the level of towing. And our town code doesn't, I believe, authorize us to prevent these outrageous, I think we have a tow bill for like $2,200. The town of Windsor, I believe in 2021, they fixed this. So this is something that we might want to take a look at, amending our, so that people can't be all of a sudden get a bill, a $2,000 towing bill, after they were in an accident. So that, has this happened before, Chief?
It has.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll call them and we get sort of compromise, but it's really not my position to tell them how much they should be charging.
Sure.
We only regulate the impounds, so I can only make that call to them, or straight tows, we don't regulate accents. I kind of overstep if I'm calling them and I say, I don't think your prices are in line, so I'd rather have it in the code.
Gotcha. No, of course. And so I think we'll consider putting that in the code. So, all right, so just the last sort of, I've got an update on Edac, the Economic Development Advisory Committee from, this is from Steve Jones, he couldn't be here tonight. So just, Edac has selected a website design and submitted it to Joe DeBosch to begin being built. Website content is being developed by members of the committee. That's going to be submitted to Joe by June 30th. He's been in touch with numerous partners for the QR Code Initiative, Black Rock Forest, Hudson Highland Nature Museum, the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference, the Village of COH. He's been working with the Chamber of Commerce on this as well. We're also, we have a logo contest where we're trying to design a new logo for stuff related to Edac and tourism advertising, so that contest is currently underway. We have a few submissions. What else do we have going on here? So, I mean, basically, Steve Jones expects by, let's say, sometime in July for Joe to have the tourism and Edac website up, and it'll be ready for the town board to be able to take a look at, but we expect to have it sometime in July. I mean, as with anything, it takes time to get the right content and the pictures and to work all this out. And then once you have all that, like the design goes relatively quickly. So that's Steve's report. He'll be here next month to give him more, in depth. Maybe he'll have stuff to show as well.
Yeah, they can.
So I don't have anything else. Is there anything else from any board members? No? Okay. Is there public comment on anything or any agenda item? No? Okay. So let me make a motion to go into executive session for board and committee interviews.
So moved.
Sorry.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Michael Rossi?
Yes.
Mr. Woodhouse?
Yes.
And you're gonna want a motion for the closed session too.
Yeah.
We'll just tie it all up.
Yeah, okay, so then let's, I just get a motion to go into closed section to seek advice of counsel.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Michael Rossi?
Yes.
Mr. Woodhouse?
Yes. Okay, was she here to be interviewed?
No,
Okay.
I did not